I'm Jeff Matlow. Welcome to the best leadership podcast ever. Welcome back to the pod. If you're new here, click that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode, because you're going to like this. I'm telling you right out of the gate. If you're a regular, it's great to have you back. Your table's ready. I've got your drink order already at the table. Sit down, have a sip, enjoy yourself. My name's Jeff Matlow, three-time entrepreneur, author, keynote speaker. I coach leaders and leadership teams, and I make sure that you and your team are the most productive unit in your company. If you're interested in learning more, reach out to me, leadership@bytitleonly.com, or go to bytitleonly.com. Also, by the way, you should check out my newsletter, the best leadership newsletter ever. That's at thebestleadershipnewsletter.com. Okay, I got to tell you a story now. Maybe it's going to tell you a little bit more about me than I'd like you to know, but hey, here we are, and I started, so I got to keep talking. Well, let me ask you. If you were walking down the street one morning and you were confronted by a crazy man with a big knife on the side of the sidewalk right in front of you, what would you do? That's the question I attempted to answer for my final project as a psychology major in college. I know, it's idiotic. Actually, I can't believe my professor accepted this premise, yet they did, and here we are. So here's what I did in my study. One early morning, as students were walking to class, I stood kind of surreptitiously off the side of the sidewalk and timed how long it took the average person to walk 10 meters. The next morning, at about the same time, I went to the same sidewalk at the same part of campus and recorded people's pace again. But this time, I was holding a big hunting knife and I sat screaming random things to act like a crazy man. I then compared the data to come up with my conclusions. Now, sure, my college only had 1,000 students and almost everybody knew everybody else, which means I most likely wasn't viewed as some sort of rando there. And yeah, I probably didn't make a great crazy person in my preppy clothes and clean-cut look, or else somebody would have contacted campus security and had me arrested, which they didn't. In the end, my findings were pointless. It didn't prove to be a statistically significant study as much as a statistically stupid study. As it turns out, a couple decades later, a group of smarter people at smarter schools did a similarly stupid study. But their finding changed the world. In what I could only imagine was the result of a drunken dare at a dive bar, a few people from Harvard, Yale, and Duke decided to conduct a study focused on IKEA furniture. Yep, IKEA furniture. The result of their study, though, is critically important to your journey towards being a great leader. Here's what they did. They got a bunch of participants, and one by one, they showed them a piece of IKEA furniture. They then asked each of them to guess its retail value. It sounds kind of like a Swedish version of The Price is Right, but wait, there's more. They then got another bunch of participants, and one by one, they had each of them first assemble the piece of furniture and then guess its retail value. As it so happens, the participants who assembled the furniture themselves placed a higher value on the item than those who weren't involved in its creation. Interesting, right? I agree. Well, they published their paper and the concept took off. This is now known as the IKEA Effect. And here's what it means. People place a higher value on ideas, activities, or products when they feel like they've been part of the creation process. Now, if you've ever taken my courses or worked with me as your coach, you had no doubt heard me blabber on about the immense importance of empowering your team. When people feel empowered, they're more productive, more creative, and much happier in their job. That's a fact. The IKEA Effect is about empowerment. It's about giving people psychological ownership of their destiny. Smart companies know how to leverage the IKEA Effect. Whether they know it or not, they use it to effectively build engagement, loyalty, and ultimately a higher perceived value of the importance of the brand. Here's some examples. Quick service restaurants, fast food restaurants like Subway, Chipotle, and Sweetgreens, they're empowering you by letting you co-create your own meal. Nike also leverages the IKEA effect by letting you custom design your own shoe. And tech companies like, think of Notion and Trello, they create psychological ownership by letting you customize your own features and dashboards. All of these are the IKEA effect. And in fact, the same concept can be found in almost every other industry. Think of companies like Lego, Starbucks, and M&M's, where they replicated the IKEA effect by empowering the customers to create their own product development initiatives. Remember that choose the next M&M color thing? That's the IKEA effect. Once you start looking for the IKEA effect in the real world, you're going to find it everywhere. It happens all the time. So the question is, how do you apply the IKEA effect to your leadership? And I'm glad you finally asked, because I was starting to think we probably would never get here. If you want to learn how to inspire and empower your team to be as productive as possible, there's actually a few things more important than embracing the IKEA effect. In fact, there are a few behaviors you should start doing right now, right off the bat. The first one is to start with questions. Your job as a leader is not to know all the answers. Your job is to ask the right questions. Fortunately for you, there's only 4 of them. What, how, why, and when. Everybody who's worked with me knows that when they come to me to ask my opinion on something, the first words out of my mouth are always the same. What do you think we should do? By teaching your team to think about solutions, you're empowering them to be leaders and take ownership. That's the IKEA effect. So next time somebody comes to you with an issue, listen to them carefully, make sure you understand what the problem is, and ask them what they think should be done. Then shut up and listen. You'll be amazed at what happens. Here's the second thing you should do to activate the IKEA effect. Transparently explain the why. Don't tell people when a decision is already made. That's called informing. You need to lean more towards involving. So once you recognize a problem that needs to be addressed, be transparent with your team and give them a seat at the solutions table. Ask them what they think should be done, listen to their ideas, consider their ideas with an open mind, and when you make a decision, explain the why. This is empowerment, and it makes all the difference in the world. And the third thing to activate the IKEA effect is let them own the win. When your team accomplishes something, give them credit. Let them own it. Remind them if it was their idea in the first place, and acknowledge the obstacles they had to overcome to get to that result. An important part of the IKEA effect is acknowledging and celebrating the impact of ownership. And listen, that idiotic college experiment of mine didn't lead to any great discoveries, but when I look back on it, I realized that something else important happened, something that wasn't measured, and something that wasn't intentional. It's that I owned it. I created the idea, proposed it, and tried it. Yes, it was stupid, but it was mine, and that's what matters to me more than anything, and that's why I'm telling you the story all these decades later. That's the exact point of the IKEA effect. Not just that people value what they build, but that the process of building it, the simple process of feeling like they matter, is what makes people feel proud and involved. So I challenge you to let your team assemble the proverbial furniture on their own. Even if the screws don't always match the holes, which miraculously they don't. And even if the thing they build is not exactly what you envisioned, the connection they feel will be the strongest thing you can create as a leader. And fortunately, you don't need a hunting knife and a crazy college kid to get it done. If you want help motivating and inspiring your team and getting them a sense of ownership, reach out to me, leadership@by title only. I'd love to chat with you and see if I can help. In the meantime, it is great to have you here. If you like this episode, make sure you click subscribe, give it a review, and check me out at thebestleadershipnewsletter.com. I appreciate you. We'll talk to you next week.